Good morning everyone, I'm Bren. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm telling you it has been a mad busy week here in the garden because I have been just frantically trying to get plants and seedlings in the ground. We've only got around, I think it's about 3 weeks left until summertime, so ideally seedlings should be going in a few weeks before summer, because here in this part of the world in New South Wales, when summer hits, so does the heat. I want to get those seedlings and plants I've got a bit established and settled into their new environment before everything starts to crank up. Temps, humidity, you name it. I don't know what else, because every summer here just seems to be some new surprise. I'm not sure what it's going to be this year. Hopefully it won't be too bad, but we'll see what happens. Let me go and show you what edible summer crops I've put into the ground. We'll take a look at some more of the cut flowers. I'll show you the bouquets I put together for my new business, Bren's Blooms. And yeah, general look around. Oh, and a dahlia update. Thank goodness, dahlias are nearly off my mind, at least getting them planted. Next step will be to create some frames around them for support. But I don't think I'm going to worry about that this week. I'm going to take a break over the weekend and put that off till next Monday. So please just sit back, relax for a few minutes, and let's get into it now. There has been a lot of big changes over in the raised garden bed area since I showed it to you last week. I've got some zucchinis and squash in the ground. A lot of the beds in here have been cleared. There's broccoli heads forming. Most of the dahlias have been planted. There's a lot of these red Flanders poppies. The beetroot is ready to harvest. I'm thinking with some of that beetroot I'm going to pickle it, and with a few of them I'm going to attempt to make some beetroot cake. Now I know that sounds a bit odd, but I had a piece of beetroot cake from our local fruit and veg shop, and it was so moist, really delicious. And the beetroot flavour, I mean, I don't even know if I could taste beetroot. It was just the texture and the moisture in the spongy cake. Oh, it was so good. So I'm going to give that a try. The peony poppies look like they're about to join the spring party. Comfrey has bounced back after being dormant during winter. And the absolute biggest development of all is that I planted up this really large Dahlia patch. I managed to fit 16 plants into this one long bed. As you can see, I ended up going with 2 rows. I couldn't decide last week whether to go with 2 rows or 3 rows, but I think it just worked out much better this way, and I will definitely be able to harvest the flowers easily, especially due to the fact that I've left a bit of space on this side, so I'll be able to reach over from both directions. Because I'm growing so many new dahlia varieties this year, and every single year up until now I get mixed up with my tubers, and I'm not able to give you an exact name for each flower most of the time. I want to make sure that I know exactly what is what. So what I've done is I got myself a little sketchbook, did some little diagrams of all of those dahlia beds. There's a lot more I haven't shown you this week, and I've marked out, you know, the names. What I'm also thinking, when I was giving them a water this morning, I may end up putting the diagram on a large, like A4 piece of paper, and getting it laminated, sticking it out near each of the dahlia patches, so that, you know, it's just like a quick reference, and it will just help me to get familiar with the different varieties, and I won't be second guessing myself as well when I'm recording these weekly videos. I'll be able to tell you straight away what flower is what. There's also the larkspur flowering at last, and the radiance sunflowers are close to opening. Over here is the onion bed. They are not looking terribly good at the moment, even though they all went in at the same time. Some are much smaller than others, and that's probably due to the fact that this feverfew plant took over part of the raised beds, shadowing out some of the onion plants. I shouldn't have let this happen. I should have either pulled out this flowering plant or even given it a good chop back, but I didn't. And the consequences of that are these really tiny onions or onion plants that probably at this stage now won't have enough time to swell up at the base. But it's not all wasted, because I can still use these like the way you would use a spring onion. There are a few larger ones, so I've got a mix of the brown onions and red onions, and I'm not sure if they're exact variety. Where's that worm going to? Looks like something urgent's going on. Jeez, I've never seen a worm move so fast. These were all planted as seedlings back in late autumn, early winter. I can't remember the exact date. And usually with onions, you know, they need to be in a bed that's very fertile, receives full sun, and they grow best in cooler climates. That's why where I live, I plant them so that they're growing essentially during our winter time. Now, it is getting warmer and humid with all the rain. I don't know how they're going to go, but we'll see. Every year I try and improve my onion harvest, and it's pretty dismal each year, so hopefully this year I will get some decent size onions that I can use in my cooking. In an ideal world, those onions should be ready to harvest by the end of spring, early summer. But they're still quite small. I don't think they're at the stage they should be at this point to be able to be harvesting them in a few weeks' time, but we'll see. You know, it's not a complete fail if they aren't ready, because as I mentioned, we can still eat them like that or a bit larger. And all I need to do is try again next year, learn from the mistakes I made in 2022, and hopefully 2023 will bring about a bumper crop. Cross my fingers. I harvested a lot of cut flowers from this area for the bouquets which I'm selling this week. Before we take a look at them, there are some other cut flowers down here in these long beds that I want to show you. Like down here, I haven't added any of these into my bouquets yet because the stems aren't quite long enough, but they'll get there. These are called Argyredum, and I'm so happy with how well they are growing. There's quite a few buds here and there, but it still needs probably another week or two before I'll be doing any picking from this patch. This blue flower is well worth making a bit of room for in your garden. As well as being an excellent cut flower, it also attracts a lot of beneficial bugs. So if you're into, you know, growing your own food and you want to do so organically, if you grow this flower, as I said, it will help attract those good bugs to help get rid of the bad ones. There is so much of this apricot status, like heaps and heaps, beginning to open up. I'm thinking maybe another week or so and I'll be able to pick from here. I know these aren't ready to pick yet because a lot of the flowers haven't opened up fully. So even with this one here, for example, there's still a few more that needs to open. If I was to pick that at this stage where the buds are just beginning to make an appearance, the stems will just flop and shrivel up. So I can only pick each of the stems when they have all of their flowers on them fully open. I'm now going to show you the bunches of flowers that I've just delivered down to Tarmore Garden Centre in Bargo this morning. So each week I've managed to put together 4 arrangements. Sometimes they're slightly varied, but I'm hoping as the season goes on I'll have more of a selection of blooms, textures, colours, that I can make the arrangements all maybe slightly different. So yeah, I had a lot of particular flowers. I had a lot of foxgloves, but I decided to not add them in because foxgloves are poisonous. And I didn't want to include them in the bouquets. There was also a lot of Peruvian lilies. Oh my goodness, the patch of Peruvian lilies just keeps on giving. Oh, couldn't ask for anything more. It's just perfect year for it to be so abundant. And then I had snapdragons, a whole bunch of these beautiful yellow snapdragons, lots of baby's breath too. Yeah. Oh, and in exciting news, I was contacted by a local club here in my area, and I made these two table arrangements for some long tables. They were having a special event. Yeah, that was really exciting putting them together. I think they turned out really well, so colourful. Anyway, that was about it for this week. Hopefully those 4 bunches will sell when I go next Friday to the garden centre. I hope to see some empty buckets. I'm standing at the greenhouse door. So this is what the garden looks from this direction. I did a lot of work in here too, although it doesn't quite look like I have because it's still very weedy. What I mostly concentrated on was clearing out all the beds along here and cutting back some of the lower branches from the mulberry tree to allow more light in to all of these. Let's go and take a closer look. This whole area is so messy. Look at it. I have to do a heap of weeding in here. It's just been really hard keeping on top of everything. That there actually isn't too bad. That's what I pulled out of the beds along here. So I've popped in some of these, which are the spider flowers. I'll put the proper name up on the screen. In this bed is a Mad Hatter capsicum that is coming on to the 3rd year or 4th year of growing here in the garden. I just chop it back every year and it regrows. I wasn't really sure whether it would overwinter again. I thought, you know, surely it has to come to an end and die off, but no, it's still here. And I haven't planted anything behind it or in this section because it will get absolutely massive if previous years are anything to go by. There's a couple more chilies and capsicums in there. In this bed I have some eggplants. I purchased all of these plants. I had great intentions of growing them from seed, but not much happened with them. So I ended up just buying a few. So I have a couple of the bonicas. Oh, I'm trying to remember now. I have to check my notes. I think there's a fairy tale eggplant and the Lebanese eggplant. This poor thing. I've had it for a while actually. I feel like I've really neglected a lot of my edibles. Because look at the state of it. It was lying down on the ground and I never picked it up, didn't really notice, and now it started to grow sidewards, so you can imagine it's lying down. That's actually going up towards the light. I'm hoping it will straighten out, but I'm not sure. What do you guys reckon? In the bed beside them are these lovely chrysanthemums, which I purchased back in autumn or fall. They were reduced only to a few dollars. Actually, there's a label here. I wonder, no, it doesn't have the price tag. They have come back too. How good's that? This is a great time of year to propagate your chrysanthemums to increase your supply of plants. So all you do is you get one of the fresh tops, and probably better off using a secateurs, but let's just say I have one. You take a piece off, you can dip it in rooting hormone powder or in some honey, put it into some of that propagation sand that Keith put me onto, or even some seed raising mix, and in a few weeks you'll see fresh shoots come here. You'll be able to pot it on. You may not get any flowers from it this year, but next year you sure will. Beside them is a bed full of dahlias. Then there's the blueberries, And underneath them I have a couple more dahlia plants. I'm thinking I might be able to squeeze one more into there. And really there's a huge mess to tidy up. Like, so these are all the plants I pulled out from those beds. There's empty pots. Got a lot of sections like that where there's a lot of pots. I've got a few more beds to clear out, which are over here. I'm thinking that's where I'll put some of my tomato plants. In front of them there's more dahlias, so you see I've kind of gone dahlia crazy. And then here I have some tomato plants that I haven't even staked up yet. Oh, I really need to put a bit more effort into the edibles because these are quite important too. I'm really happy I made that decision to cut back the mulberry tree, because I really don't think I would have been able to grow anything too great in these beds. This is actually the one where I had the stock. Remember, it was all leaning over to the side. I think it was trying to reach for the light. Do you realize this chicken? I bet she's going to jump in there and start scratching. Yep. Don't scratch. Go on, keep on going. Find somewhere else. There's plenty of room. Go on, good girl. I've still got trays of seedlings everywhere that I need to find space for. These ones are Queen Lime Red, and they're not all Queen Lime Red. I can't remember what the other section is, but it looks like the tag's missing. I'm just following the girls around for a bit because I'm nervous. I put a lot of seedlings in and I haven't protected them, and of course they come straight over to this section. I put in a heap of zinnias here. This is where I had the Sweet William. Remember, they dug out a lot of plants. I still have a few. I'm going to leave them there because I'm really curious to see if I can get them to flower. I don't know what it is about that section. Maybe there's something really tasty underneath that ground, because the two girls are always over here. Like, it's not like it's the only exposed patch of earth in the back garden, but for some reason they just love this area. There are Sweet Williams in here that needs to be weeded like most other sections, and they are beginning to flower. The trouble is they are on incredibly short stems. Let me see if I can pick one off and show you. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with this, but look at that. I can't use that in any bouquets. Maybe a jam jar posy, but that's about it. I did a bit of research to see if I could find out the answer to my problem, but so far I've had no luck. So do any of you know what's going on here? Maybe it's staring me right in the face. Maybe it's because I haven't weeded this patch and there are other plants that shouldn't be grown in here, like this Verbena bonariensis that's self-seeded, and all of these Johnny Jump violas. Maybe I need to pull all of them out so that these plants aren't competing with nutrients. Perhaps that could be the answer, and then maybe I will get the longer stems. I don't know, what do you reckon? Here are where I've got some black-eyed Susans. Got a mixture. I've got Sahara mix and the Indian Summer and another one which I can't remember. I haven't done too well with the spacing. I think they're pretty close together. Like, don't know what's going on here. I do. I think I sprinkled some seeds, didn't I? When some of the plants got pulled out, I sprinkled some seeds. Maybe that's what they are. Anyway, what I'm thinking is I will dig a few of these up, give them a bit more room, and then don't know where I'm going to put them, but I'll find somewhere. And then that will mean that the plants in here will be able to, you know, fully develop and hopefully produce an abundance of blooms. Still keeping an eye on her. Well, that is about it for this week, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. Remember, if you'd like to support my channel, please give it a thumbs up. You can share with your friends, even encourage other people to subscribe. That would be absolutely wonderful. Anyway, until next Friday, I hope you have a fantastic week ahead and happy gardening.